Good afternoon, all. I hope you're okay. Today, I want us to start with behavior change process as the second topic. And I want us to understand first the influences of behavior change, as well as understand the process under which and the approaches that you can use in order to enact a behavior change in a person. So, and before we go to the process as well as the approaches that you can use in order to instill a behavior change in a person, I want us to start with understanding what is behavior and also how we can determine a certain behavior in a person. So behavior is determined by three things. We have opportunity, motivation, sensory and motor capability. So what is this opportunity? Opportunity means the conditions or situations that are favorable for that action to be done. This means that there's some certain conditions for a certain behavior to occur. There's some certain condition that must be present. For example, if you take a behavior, for example, smoking behavior, which is normally prohibited in some certain government agencies or premises. So we won't find people doing or smoking in those areas. So as you can see here, the behavior change now, you normally change, the smokers can't smoke in those premises or in those prohibited areas. So they change due to the opportunities or the opportunities that is presenting itself at that moment. So that is behavior change that will occur due to an opportunity. Another one is motivation. So behavior is controlled by positive or negative consequences. So some behavior will be motivated or will be controlled due to the consequences that are available, whether positive or negative consequences. So for example, the positive consequences are those that produce pressure and they serve to encourage the behavior. For the negative ones, they don't produce pressure and hence they normally discourages the behavior in some certain areas. So the next one that normally determines the behavior of a person is sensory and motor capability. And this simply means mental and physical ability of a person. So we normally act what is on our mind. You normally do what is in your mind. If you're mentally capable or you have physical ability to do something, it will drive you to do or to behave in a certain way. If you're not mentally capable or you're incapable of thinking straight, you're mentally incapacitated, definitely you'll act in a certain behavior that is different from a person who is mentally upright. Another determinant of behavior in a person may be learning, where you gain knowledge of a behavior through instruction or experience. You either get learning or get information from. Number one, you can get knowledge either through experience or you heard or you hear or you learned from someone else. So whenever there is a learning, we see the evidence of change in behavior. For learning to take place, there are several steps to be followed because change of behavior takes time to work. So those are the determinants that can determine the behavior in a person. So opportunity can cause a person to behave in a certain way. Motivation, due to positive consequences of doing something. For example, if you drink alcohol and you feel pressure from that alcohol, that may encourage you to continue with that behavior. But if you drink alcohol and, for example, you find yourself having issues in your body or having health issues in your body. Maybe, for example, you had ulcers and they become worse. Definitely, that will be a negative motivation. That will be a negative consequences of taking that alcohol. And that consequence will motivate you to stop alcohol abuse. But if you took alcohol and you felt some pressure from the alcohol, then the alcohol will motivate you to continue with the behavior of taking the alcohol, or you continue to abusing that or using that alcohol drug. Then for sensory and motor capability, if you're mentally upright, you will be able to act in a different ways compared to a person who is mentally incapacitated. Then for learning, we normally behave through what we learn, through experience or learning from others. So now that we have seen the determinant of behavior in a person, how do a person change from one behavior to the other? So the behavior change process includes steps. And the first step is creating awareness, then motivating a person to change, assisting a person to practice a new behavior, and motivating the person to maintain that behavior. So I want us to go through one step at a time, and we'll start with creating awareness. That is step number one. So this involves pointing out the behavior to the person in a way that is not judgmental. What is creating awareness? You're making this person be aware of their behavior. It's like you're empowering this person to know what kind of behavior they have. But in doing so, you're not supposed to use a judgmental language. Like you're judging them, you're condemning them because they have this particular behavior. Because once you use that approach, they will definitely reject whatever that, may not even listen to you. So you need to use a certain approach that you're not that is not judgmental. So when you try to correct a person in an accusing or judgmental manner, they become defensive and will end up ignoring the correction. So you're supposed to be very sensitive. Try to understand why the person engages in a particular behavior first. And for you to be sensitive, definitely you have to understand, why is this person abusing this drug? Why is this person having this sexual misconduct? Why did this person abort pregnancy? So you need first to understand the person, and then that will help you be able to approach the person in a better way. So appreciate the positive points about the behavior and help the person to accept the negative points. So for example, you can use this approach. I appreciate that cigarette smoking makes you feel relieved of tension from your mind. Now, then you come to how can we relieve the tension from you without using the cigarettes or without smoking the cigarette? And by giving them some other options, you also need to show them the negative effects of tobacco smoking. So you can use, maybe the nicotine in tobacco gives you a feeling of excitement that makes you temporarily forget your tension. But after the nicotine level in your blood come low, then the tension will come back, or will experience the tension again. So it's therefore that you need to deal with the cause of the tension, etc. So you give them options, other options, or other ways that will replace the bad behavior they have, and also show them the negative effects of the behavior, or the negative effects of the bad behavior they possess. So give as much information as you can concerning the behavior. This gives the person a wider range of choices to consider when choosing what to do. This is called an informed choice making, because the person will choose after considering the positive and negative aspects of their behavior. So for example, you can't use the phrase you're not supposed to smoke, or smoking is bad. So you're supposed to show them why are you saying that smoking is bad. Show the negative effects and also give them other choices if possible of replacing the behavior with good choices. Then step number 2, you motivate to change. That's the step number 2. And this is helping the person see the advantage of changing their behavior to a healthy one. So every effort made towards change should be acknowledged and encouraged. So for example, if the person reduces the number of cigarettes they use in a day, you're supposed to congratulate them and encourage them. Do not force the person to change, but let them see the need. Help the person also to strategize how they will begin the change, then encourage them to carry on. Then lastly, help the person to own the change, because if they appreciate how it will benefit them, they will work hard for it to succeed. So all these factors are geared to motivate that person to change. After you've shown the person, or after you've made the person aware of their behavior, majority of them do not even understand, or they know that maybe smoking is bad, but they do not know the consequences of smoking. Or they might even know the consequences, but they don't really own that message. So by making them aware first, then you motivate them to continue changing. So continue to motivate them. The small effort they use, you're supposed to continue to motivate them in order to make bigger choices in life, or bigger changes in life. So you motivate them by making sure that you help them strategize on how to change, or to begin the change, and also encourage them to carry on with the change they have chosen to use. Then you're not supposed to force the person to change. It's supposed to be a personal choice, because once you force them, you're supposed to empower them instead of forcing them. So you're supposed to help them own the change. You're supposed to help them own the change, such that I'm supposed to leave cigarette on my own choice, or by my own choice. So if they leave the bad behavior by their own choice, they'll be able to maintain that change until they are okay. So every effort they make, you're supposed to encourage them, and also acknowledge them in whatever change they make. So in the next maybe visit, if you're a psychologist in a place, so in the next visit, you need to understand, or you need to inquire more on the kind of behavior change they have chosen and the step they are making. So in each and every step, you're supposed to encourage them. So by that, you're motivating them to change to the good behavior. So the next step is starting the change, and this helps the person to begin to practice the new behavior. Do not let the person I was on step number 3, which is starting the change. So it normally helps the person to begin to practice the new behavior. So now that you have made them aware, you've also motivated them to change. The third step is starting the change, or enacting now the change. Now that they are really motivated to change, how do they start to change? So it helps the person to begin to practice the new behavior. Do not let the person to wait to start another day. So if they want to change, for example, you've really noted that this person have accepted to change. So you don't allow them to postpone. For example, they might use the phrase, from tomorrow I will not take any other cigarette. So motivate them or encourage them to start the change once they realize, or once you realize they need to change. So this makes the resolution practical, but if left to start later, they may change their mind. So for example, if you're dealing with an alcohol abuser, and you hear them say, from next week, now that I have realized that alcohol abuse brings this and this and this, so from next week I'll never taste alcohol again. So it is maybe probable, but by next week they might have been changed by their friends, by their influences. And due to that, you need to make sure that if they have realized that they need to change, they change from that moment. So advise the person to begin slowly, then progress on. They do not stop at once. They need to go step at a time, because relapse is like 100% if the person just stops once. So slow change or small change is easily sustained and improves or increases with time. So support every effort made towards behavior change and remind the person of the advantages and disadvantages of the change. And of course, the advantages are more as compared to the disadvantages. So encourage the person to share their experiences in the change process and let them know what to expect. For example, withdrawal symptoms among cigarette smokers and drug users. So you still need to make sure that during their change, as they start to change, they need to know, if I stop doing this, if I stop abusing alcohol, if I stop using alcohol, I might have some withdrawal symptoms or withdrawal signs and symptoms. And if they're not aware and they start to feel that, they will not be ready for the symptoms, they will not be ready for the signs. So this may also encourage relapse. So when a person knows what to expect, they become more cooperative during challenges in the change process, because they will be ready. They'll be fully ready for the challenges that may come ahead of the change of behavior. Then step number 4 is sustaining behavior change. Now that the person, number 1, is aware of their bad behavior, they are motivated to change, then they have started the change, how do they sustain the behavior change? Because sustenance is very key, and this is where majority of people relapse because of many other aspects. So once the person appreciates the benefits of the new behavior, they will be motivated to continue with it. Help the person to assess their progress in the change process. So help them to assess how are they progressing. Help them to assess their progress in the change process or in the behavior process. Help them to monitor. How have I been changing? So nowadays, I don't take 3 or 1 whole packet of cigarettes. I do take a half of the packet. So tomorrow, next week, or previously, maybe 1 week ago, I was taking a packet per day. Last week, but one, I graduated to a half. Last week, I graduated to cigarettes in a day. This week, I'm graduating to 1. So by that, they're monitoring how they are changing. They need also to monitor. And by monitoring, they'll be encouraged more and more to continue to change. So this helps them to appreciate what their that they're making progress, because if a person fails to see progress, they give up easily. So you should also encourage the person to help others in a similar situation. So you should also encourage other person or this person to help other friends that they're abusing with to change. So by encouraging them, they are also helping themselves to sustain their behavior change. So once the person encourages another person in mentorship or peer training, it motivates them to sustain the change and become a good example. Because you can't be encouraging me to stop a certain behavior while you yourself you're doing the same behavior. So if you're changing, or if you want to change, you'll be more encouraged to change more if especially you're encouraging other people to change their behavior. So at this stage also, you're supposed to give the person skills to overcome relapse, because sustaining behavior changes very hard. So you need to equip them with skills on how to overcome the relapse. And this had avoiding old friends and social joints where the harmful habits used to be practiced. Because if you want to stop drinking alcohol and you're visiting Brighton every day, it's highly likely that you'll relapse, because you'll be encouraged by your friends, or just merely being in that bar will just encourage you to continue drinking. So another one is involving themselves in other activities when they think of old habits. This helps to keep the mind occupied with other activities. So once you feel like you want to relapse, or you want to go back to your old behavior, you want to go back to your being a prostitute or something, if you want to, you feel like you want to go back to taking cigarettes or alcohol, you need to look for other activities that normally keeps your mind occupied. So once you keep your mind occupied, remember, an idle mind is a devil's workshop. So once you keep your mind very active or involved in other things, this will help you, to overcome that old habit. Another thing is having another person to watch them and alert them the moment they go back on the old harmful habits. You need to look for a sponsor or this chaperone they're talking here, or I'm saying here. So this sponsor or this chaperone will encourage you and also will watch your back. If in case you want to go back to your old habits, he or she is the one to alert you to continue on with the new good habits. So another one is doing away with old items that may lead to relapse, e.g. avoid alcohol in the house, cigarettes in the house, because once you see that alcohol on the shelf and already you're feeling like you need to take some alcohol, definitely you'll take that alcohol. If you have some cigarettes around, if you have another person drinking or smoking in the house and you're still in your behavior change, sustaining behavior stage, it is highly likely that you'll go back to the old behavior. So those are the ways under which you can use, or the skills that we can use to equip a person in order to overcome relapse in future. So you need to put these skills, or you need to encourage, or you need to enforce the person with these skills in order for them to avoid relapse in future. So those are the 4 stages through which behavior change takes place. And for a person to change, they must pass those 4 stages. You need to create awareness first. They need to understand their behavior. Because if I'm taking alcohol and I feel taking alcohol is good, I need someone that will encourage, or will show me, or will give me information on what are the bad effects of this alcohol and why is it alcohol bad. Then motivate the person to change. When a person is motivated to change and shown how to change, they will start their behavior to change. Then after that, after they have already started behavior change, you need to motivate the person to maintain the good behavior. So those are the 4 behavior change process that a person who is need to change behavior need to go through. So what are the social influences in behavior change? What are these influences? So at first, when we were starting the unit, we went through the determinants of behavior. I want you not to confuse between influences of behavior change and also determinants of behavior. Determinants of behavior determines how I will behave. Social influences of behavior determines what are the influences that will make me change. So these are like approaches under which you can use in order to encourage a person to change. So these are achieved through, so these are attempts by one or more person to change another person's behavior or attitude, and it is called social influence. So social influence can be achieved through persuasion, conformity to pressure. So they can be persuasion, you are persuading a person to change. You're putting pressure on a person to change. Another one is compliance tactic. A person is changing because they want to belong to a certain group. And lastly is obedience. So let's see how social influence can cause behavior change. The first one is persuasion attitudes that I've already said. So persuasion is the process of changing attitudes. In this process, information is given to convince, you're convincing a person to change. So this process information, in this process, information is given to convince someone to change. Therefore, we can say that a source directs a message to some audience. You're directing or you're convincing a person in order to change a certain behavior. So the following approaches have been found to be useful, effective in persuading people to change. So these are the approaches under which you can use persuasion in order to cause a change in a person. Number one, people who know what they are talking about, that is, those who have studied their subject well, tend to be more persuasive than those who do not know what they're talking about. For example, if you're telling a person to change a certain behavior, if you're telling a person to change from taking heroin, and you don't even understand what is heroin, you don't even understand what is the effect of heroin in a body, what will you tell this person? They will not be persuaded to change from taking the, because maybe they're taking the heroin because it normally gives them some pressure, it normally relieves them from the depression and stress of the life that they're passing through. So it is really like you're not understanding them, or you don't understand what you're telling them about or talking to them about. So you need to understand the subject well for you to be able to persuade the person. Then another one is indirect message are more successful in behavior change than direct message. For example, an example here is cigarette smoking is harmful to your health. That is an indirect message. You are telling the person to stop smoking because cigarettes are harmful to their health. But if you use a message like stop smoking, so they'll be left with a word, why are you telling me? Or they'll be left with questions. Why are you telling me to stop smoking? And I feel good when I smoke. So you need to use indirect messages when you're or when you're communicating or when you're persuading a person to change. So you need to use an indirect message for you to be able to persuade a person to change. Then another approach is people are often more susceptible to persuasion when they are involved in a dialogue rather than being lectured, especially teenagers and adolescent children. You need to involve them in a dialogue. So if you need a person or a child to stop having bad company, you need to involve them in a dialogue. So ask them about their friends, ask them about how do they behave, ask them about many aspects. And by that, you will have a dialogue in a way that you'll be able to persuade this person to stop the bad company or to stop having the bad company by making them aware that this company is is not good, or will lead to maybe harmful effects there later in life. But when you lecture them, I don't want to see you with this this person and this person and this person. So if you're lecturing them, they will not be able to be persuaded by you in order for them to change from their behavior. Then number 4, a message is more effective when you adopt a two-sided approach. This means that you should present both sides of the argument by supporting one side more. Like the example I gave you about cigarettes. You show them that you understand that they feel good when they take the cigarettes. You can also use when maybe you are encouraging a teenager to stop having a bad company. You can tell them, I believe or I know that you feel good or you feel appreciated by this group of company that you're keeping, but show him or her the harmful effects of the bad company, the harmful effects of the bad behavior that they possess. So if you show them the two-sided approach of things, then you will be able to persuade them to change, because you will show them the more harmful and the less advantageous the behavior they possess is. So this approach enables the audience to accept your idea, because they realize that you are broad-minded. But if you show them that you're shallow-minded, you only have this side of the story. You only show the negative side of the story, but they also know the positive side of the story. So if you show them the both side of the story, you'll be able to persuade them to change the bad behavior that they are having. So another approach is use of message that arouse strong emotions but not panic. An example here, let's see 3 examples, and then let's see which provokes fear, which provokes emotions. So for example, cigarette smoking kills. So if you use that, definitely you're putting some panic in that person. Cigarette smoking is harmful to your health. But if you use cigarette smoking is harmful to your health, they will be able to be or they will be enticed to listen to you in order to understand the harmful effects of cigarette smoking. But if you tell them it kills them, then you're instilling some panic in them. So another one is cigarette smoking is bad. Definitely majority of people will ignore the third statement, but they'll be curious to know of the second statement. But the first one will invoke some or provoke some panic or fear in the person. So the first example provokes fear and panic. The second one provokes thinking, while the third one can be easily ignored. So use messages that arouse strong emotions as compared to panic and fear. So you should think of health messages that may lead to behavior change. And these messages invokes emotions. These messages show two-sided of the story. These messages involve dialogue rather than lecture. This message is indirect rather than direct. And lastly, this message or this you yourself understand the bad behavior, the positive side of the story, and the negative side of the behavior. So by that, you'll be able to help them, or you will be able to persuade them to change their attitude or their behavior. Then the second one is conformity pressure or conformity to pressure. So people tend to change in order to conform or to be like majority of the people by following social norms. For example, if you in your village, you used to use hands to eat, and you went to a college in a town center or even away from your country, definitely you'll not continue eating with your hands. You will conform to using forks and whatever they use in the new place that you are, in order to conform to that behavior that is practiced by the majority, because no one will want to be secluded, or we want to behave in a different way as the others. So social norms can be classified into 2. We have descriptive norms and injective norms. So descriptive norms, these are based on what other people have done or would do in a given situation. They are more of a suggestion than a rule. They use words like may and can. Injective norms, this states what must be done in a given situation. These are rules because they are explicit and precise. For example, the written constitution or traffic signs. They use command word like you must, you ought, and you must do. So conformity to pressure can come in two different ways. If, for example, like the example I was using, if you normally use hands in your village to take to eat food, and in towns or in other places that you've moved into, they use forks. They will not be you'll not be prosecuted because of using hands if you continue to use hands, because that's a descriptive norm. But if you go to from village and you come to, for example, in urban areas where we have strict traffic rules as compared to the rural. In rural areas, because you don't have many cars, you can drive however you want, because there are no cars, there are not many cars in the rural areas. You will travel miles and miles before you find another maybe vehicle. But when you come to the town areas, we have strict signs, strict traffic rules. So in these rules, they normally condemn, they normally not condemn, they normally demand an injective norm in such a way that you must do, or you must change your behavior, or you must do, or you must conform to a certain behavior that is acceptable in that society. If, for example, you move from urban areas and you go to the rural areas, in the urban areas you are wearing very short dresses, bikini if you like. For example, in the Mombasa areas, majority of them will not mind wearing half naked. So if you go to the rural areas, due to the norms there, due to the injective norms in the rural areas, you'll have, or you must conform to the norms in the rural area, because you'll be condemned by majority of the rural areas people, because majority of them will dress in a decent way. So these descriptive norms and injective norms normally causes some certain pressure that causes you to conform to the majority behavior, or to the majority, to the behavior that is practiced by majority of people. And this can be either through descriptive norms or injective norms. Then social norms are intended for social order. It is therefore important to remind people of the social norms. This is done through making the audience think of themselves in terms of other people. For example, if you are in the group of people who do not smoke, would you smoke in their midst? This is objective norms. Will you be persuaded, or will you be convinced to smoke because you're among them? Would you want your parent to know that you are an addictive or an addict of drugs? So this kind of question enable the audience to consider whether their actions are acceptable in the community or not. So if, for example, they tell you that they don't care, they find it good to abuse alcohol, to abuse heroin, and you ask them, would you want your parent to know that you're abusing heroin? They might say yes or no. So majority of children will not conform or will not agree with you, because they would not want their parents to know that they are abusing their drugs. So since human beings are social beings, no one would like to be isolated, and it is this need for social existence that the sender uses the pressurized to pressurize the audience to conform to social norms that promote health. So when you are advising, or when you're counseling a person to change and you want to use this conformity, you need to use you still need to use this conformity pressure, because majority of these behaviors are not socially acceptable in our community. Another way is compliance tactics. Compliance tactics. And these are methods which you can use to get the audience to agree with your idea or message. What are these methods? The first method is ingratiation, and this is the most common used tactic, where you make the audience to like you by agreeing with them or making them see that you identify with them. However, you should not overdo it. So, for example, if you're dealing with people that are abusing alcohol, you need first to show them that you understand why they are using alcohol. You understand maybe because of the pressure they are going through, because of the stress they are going through, because of the maybe domestic violence they are going through, because of the depression, the pressure in life they are going through. That's why they are abusing. By that, you're identifying with them. You show them that you understand or you agree why they are abusing the drug. So another way is commit and consistency. And this is continuity of an issue. People like consistency, and therefore you should focus on one goal at a time. Jumping from one issue to another show indecision and unpreparedness of lack of knowledge. So you need to go one aspect at a time when you're dealing with people and you want to share them that you want to use this compliance tactic. You should start off with a general simple request, then later give a request that would ensure more involvement. If done tactfully, the audience will easily be lured to comply to the ideas consistently. So this is another method under which you can use compliance tactics. You need to be consistent in whatever that you're telling them. And being consistent here means that if you want them to change, start by very small or minute change and then request them to change later to a bigger to a bigger change. That's why I'm still going to use cigarette smoking. If you want them to completely stop smoking, tell them to stop one cigarette in a day or to stop slowly. They can stop by reducing the number of cigarettes they're taking per day. So by that, you're starting with small changes and later you'll demand the huge changes once you have seen that they are consistent in the behavior change. Another one is tactics based on reciprocity. Reciprocity is a basic rule of social life. It means treat others as you would like them to treat you. In this tactic, you should start by making a big request to the receiver or audience, which they would refuse. Then you scale it down by making it seemingly less request, to which the receiver feels a some sort of pressure to reciprocate by accepting. Example, I'll still use smoking. If you ask the smokers to stop smoking, definitely they will refuse. But you can scale down or you can strategize with them on how to reduce the number of cigarettes. So I want us to differentiate between these two. For this consistency or commitment or consistency, you are showing them how do you stop cigarettes. Or you're showing them it's very easy to stop cigarettes because you can start retro by retro or step at a time. In tactic based on reciprocity, you tell them at first, stop smoking, and definitely do not conform to that. So after that, you scale down or you sit with them and strategize on how to stop the smoking or how to stop step at a time on how to. So they will be like pressured to change because they are reciprocating. Since they refuse at first, they want to reciprocate to you that they can change, and by that they will stop the smoking a bit or as a step at a time. Then number 4, way in which behavior can occur due to social influence is obedience. And as a health worker, you're considered as an authority on health matters. If you go to the hospital and you're told that this allergy you're getting is because you're eating beans each and every day by a doctor, since you know that the doctor knows all that you require and whatever they tell you, it's for your own good, you'll be provoked to stop taking beans. If you go to a doctor and the doctor tells you that you have a lung problem, you have a lung infection, and this infection is a risk factor to getting cancer because you're smoking and you need to stop smoking, definitely majority of people will stop smoking because the doctor said that I'm not supposed to take soda, I'm not supposed to take sugar because I am diabetic. People stop taking the sugar. They stop taking the behavior, taking the sugar because the doctor said. Now, the health worker here is considered as an authority on health matters by the audience or by the patients. So the audience believes that you as the health worker know what you're saying, and so if you ask them to stop a habit, believe that you know what you're saying, and so if you ask them to stop a habit, they will definitely obey. However, as you all well know, it doesn't work it doesn't work in all cases. So you'll still find some people that are let me say disobedient, or that are maybe ruled sometimes because some people will ask questions like, who are you to tell me what to do in my life? So, but majority of people will obey because they feel that you have more authority when it comes to health matters. So in conclusion, we take a quote from John Milton in his book, Paradise Regains, which says, "It is more humane and more heavenly to use winning words to conquer willing hearts and make persuasion to do the work of fear." Fear used to be instilled in people to make them change behavior, but studies have revealed that fear provokes defiance. When you instill fear in people, you instill panic in people, people will be defiant, will not conform to whatever that you're telling them. But if you persuade them in a particular manner that is not judgmental, definitely majority of them will accept the change of behavior. So try using persuasion and winning words instead of provoking or instilling fear in people. So that's the end of today's lecture. So if you have any question, you know how to reach me, or any clarification you need, you know how to reach me. Then I've posted an assignment for you people. So you need to make sure that you do that assignment on time. So all the best and God bless you all.